I wind up looking like the Tin Man from from the Wizard of Oz, man. I
got it right in your face, didn't you?
I sure am gonna look like the Tin Man. Alright, well, Zach going to pick up the correct belt. We're going to change the vent filter for the fuel tank. This is the filter for the vent on the fuel tank. The fuel tank's plastic, and this little cheap piece right here, if it gets choked up, the fuel pump will pull a vacuum on the fuel tank and will collapse that plastic fuel tank. Then you got a really big old expensive mess on your hands. You got to tear the whole rear end of the combine apart to be able to replace the fuel tank there. So replacing this every year is just cheap insurance to prevent bad damage. I could have put this in just a little bit better spot though, you know. Alright, next thing we're going to replace is the bushings in this fan belt drive idler right here. Starting to get some slop in there. Our draw bolt here about wore through too. So we're going to get our MIG welder out and build that up. Alright, that should be the last of the bushings you got to replace. Alright, while I was working on fan drives, Zach got back with the belt and he's already got it installed, and now he's working on these tinctures on the feeder chain, taking them off and getting all the dirt and grime cleaned out of the threads, because they have a tendency to seize up on us. So a little bit more preventative maintenance here.
Don't feel like getting out the cutting torch on these things again anytime soon.
Yeah, those bolts are a pain in the butt to replace. Not to mention a little pricey.
And not to mention scaring the piss out of us, like they're loaded on a fully loaded spring when we cut them.
I feel like that one's already on its way to getting folded up again.
It's worse than that other side. That other side wasn't bad.
Is there a bunch of junk up in there though?
Yeah, I mean, it was up in there. I put penetrating oil all the way up and down the threads. Took the wire brush to it real good and got it cleaned out. But this one's a whole lot tighter than the other one.
Got that little anti-freeze on there.
I did put some up inside the cylinder to where it wouldn't lock up whenever the spring gets tightened up on it.
Gotcha.
I knew that was part of the problem we had when we replaced them last time. We had to replace the spring, the cylinder, and the bolt because it all locked up on each other.
Yep. Oh, shoot. Oh. Alright, but the only thing we got left to do is replace this bearing here, and we've been soaking this thing with penetrating oil about every hour the last 2 days. I've been keeping tension on it. Hopefully she's about ready to break loose. As soon as that gets done with that, we'll go to beating and banging some more on this. Alright, well, looking at this pulley, we done warped it with this. So if it don't come off very easy now with that thing, I reckon we just take the smoke wrench and burn it off. So we gotta replace it anyway. Don't look like she's budging. Got a hammer. That sucker might as well be welded on there.
Smoke it up.
Yeah, she ain't moved 1 millimeter. Alright, guess we'll burn it off. I ain't messing with it no more. Let's start off, we'll just cut the pulley off the center housing and then cut the center housing off. That's the tricky part, cutting this hub off without getting into the shaft. Which I just eat. on that key.
I guarantee that's what it is. Stuck on the tag and the key stop. Well, it's coming loose.
Let me go ahead.
That wrench has never failed us.
Never, well, it failed me when I run out of gas. It just started up one little place right there on the edge where I got a little aggressive with it. Let's take some Allen wrenches, see if I can knock this off without having to cut it.
Some what?
Allen wrenches.
Okay. There she went. Hot. Hot.
Still warm.
Toasty.
Start right there. She don't look like she'll just slide right off, so cut her too.
Seeing a theme here.
All right, well there she is. We're gonna let her cool off all night and get that shaft cleaned up in the morning, and go pick the new pulley up and put it all back together. All right, back here again this morning. Show you where we're at. Zach got the parts for this clean grain elevator. Got the pulley in, so that's basically the last thing we got to do. Earlier this morning, Bo from J&S Welding there in Humboldt came out and welded up my rotor cage here. Laid down a real pretty bead of weld there, so this rotor cage should be able to withstand another pretty significant impact if we ever have one.
Let's try not to though.
Well, we're gonna try to keep all the wheels on the ground this time. But even if I don't, I've got full faith that Bo's welds will hold. We will have other problems before that. And then Zach got the bottom gearbox on my unloading auger drained, and got some fresh oil in there. How much water was in that gearbox when you drained it? Was it bad?
I can tell you this, it takes 80W90 gear oil, and that gear oil was brown when I drained it. It's supposed to be cherry red.
Yeah, it ain't supposed to be brown. I guess we just need to start doing that just every year, is changing that oil, even though we had a new seal put in there a few years ago.
Well, there's a cubby hole for when we clean it and get everything cleaned out of it. There's a drain cover that you can't make out because the bolts sit up so flush you think it's just a plate, to where you can drain all that stuff out to where you don't have to worry about any kind of water. But yet again, Case Engineers made it to where it looks like it's just all one fabricated piece.
Well, anyway, let's get this sucker wrapped up to where we can clear out our shop and get started on our next project. We'll get this tailings auger bearing put back in. I got a brand new brush for my grinder here. Should make quick work of getting this thing cleaned up. Alright, here we are a day later after realizing yesterday that I was a dummy and I ordered the wrong parts. I ordered the parts for the bearing for the clean grain elevator, not the tailings process. And another expensive 30-minute trip down to Brownsville to get the right parts. We have what we need to finish up this combine, so try and get that sucker finished up. First, we're gonna use our best friend anti-seize here on the shaft, so when we have to do this repair again, we don't have to use a smoke wrench to get all this stuff off, hopefully. Why the factory does not use anti-seize when they assemble all this stuff, or the repair guys, when they replace this stuff at the dealerships, most times they use anti-seize, but why the factory doesn't use it, and then some mechanics don't use it, I'll never understand. God bless, this stuff is nasty. Alright, there's one bearing housing. Oh yeah, we got that shaft cleaned up nice. Well, oh good. Like a glove. Come on, bolts in. I'm going to be a contortionist to get some of these bolts in. Alright, we got the belt on tightened up. Looks like the alignment's right, so just gotta tighten these bolts up and this part will be done. Alright, well, I'm finishing putting on some last few belts. Zach's working on getting straight separator bars put on the back end of the rotor for wheat, and then he's going to change out the front concaves for the small wire concaves for wheat. While it's in here, we go ahead and just get her ready for wheat harvest, so hopefully all I have to do is pull her out of the shed and head to the field.
We changed that and it will be ready for wheat harvest. I've already done the full winter service that we normally do in May on it.
Yeah, I think about got her licked. Oh, you reckon she's ready for another 100 bushel wheat crop?
She's ready.
It wasn't a long list and it wasn't an expensive list. It was kind of a time consuming list though. But I think we got all the bolts back in, everything properly tightened, torqued, adjusted, serviced, and ready to put a wheat crop through in about 3 months or so. What's next on the list?
Nothing right now, because, again, ain't no parts.
Yeah, we got a couple projects ready to get in here, but parts have not arrived. Not really sure when they're going to arrive, maybe the middle of next week. But how about we finish off the week by yanking some augers out of a grain cart?
Alright.
At least we've done this before. We kind of know what we're getting into. We did use anti-seize, so hopefully they'll come on out relatively easy. So that's just a hint of the next video. Appreciate y'all watching. Check back in a few days.